Burning the midnight oil again. Burning the midnight oil. 1,129 days since Richard vanished from the barracks, Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And why aren't they looking for him? Why aren't they looking for him? And why aren't they telling us if they found his remains? I think that is a really good question from a very brave soldier from Fort Bliss that has requested a congressional inquiry from Veronica Escobar, and Senator Ted Cruz was copied on that. That's really important. And there's some things that I want to clear up before I get into the breaking news. Always breaking news on Find Richard Halliday. Um, Lots of breaking news, but I want to clear up something. Oh, and I do see myself. Okay, turn that down. All right. So, okay, everybody, hello. I can see. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer, because today is a day, like yesterday, that we can all get behind. Ever since this brave soldier took the step, and I hope many other service members take this brave step, because it's very powerful when you have that kind of protection of another soldier standing beside you, another service member standing beside you, an army of one, right? I've got your six. Um, a esprit de corps. This is a call to esprit de corps for all service members that have been maligned, that have lived through being blocked, stonewalled, um, in order to get your reports, your concerns of fraud, waste, and abuse through the JAG office, through your chain of command, and you have been abused and used, and then they call you the most valuable asset, and then they don't even listen to your concerns. A matter of fact, they weaponize themselves against you and might even retaliate like they did with Richard, retaliate continuously and severely against you. Um, so now is a great time. This is a great time to be beside this pioneer, this trailblazer, this very courageous soldier from Fort Bliss. We don't know him, okay? We don't know him. Um, he did this. He did this. And I want to make that very, very clear that we do not know him, and we have never spoken with him. We have never spoken with this soldier that put in this request for a congressional inquiry into the breach of security and the negligence in the JAG to stonewalled soldiers that have uh, real concerns about fraud, waste, and abuse. Okay, and also we're very grateful for to this soldier, very brave soldier, for bringing the points that we have made over and over again. Now, has he listened to the uh, this Find Richard Halliday uh, live stream day in and day out, day in and day out? It looks like it, or there's a zeitgeist. But we have never sent him anything. We have never spoken to this soldier. We do not know this soldier. This is not a collaboration from, between him and us. No, that's not how we work. We absolutely do not know this soldier, and he has made a step to have our six, to have Richard six, to have esprit de corps. And if you're out there and you're a soldier, especially Fort Bliss, but even if you're Fort Hood and you're having this problem, even, Fort Cavazos, Fort Cavazos, um, uh, and Fort Bragg, which is, I think, is Fort Liberty now, or what, whatever. They're spending their money on changing names. I can't believe it. Everything is so insane right now. Doesn't make sense to me. But if you have grievances, real grievances about your chain of command not listening to you, not caring what you're saying, and fraud, waste, and abuse, and the criminal activity on our military installations that are putting our service members at risk, then this is a great time. This is a great time. This is a Spartacus moment. This is an esprit de corps moment. This is an army of one moment, a service, a military of one moment. This is um, this is when we can stick together and make the Congress listen to you. Because I'm going to tell you the good news. The good news, the breaking news, is we already received a response from Representative Escobar. We already received a response. It's been one day. We've already, well, yeah, it's been one day and a few hours, um, and we already have a response from her office. So they have received the congressional request, the congressional inquiry request. Okay, that is great news. And I think that that gives every service member hope and energy, because there, look, with the information from Leilani Hart's, because, and this is another thing I have to make very, very clear before I continue, and that is, this is not a gossip live stream. This is not a gossip column. This is not, I'm just getting on here and telling how I feel. No, everything that we are doing, that we announce on here, is because we're working with the institutions. We have put in the open records request. We have been pleading. We have been, I want to say begging. We have been pleading and pleading and pleading and asking for FOIAs and open records requests and for academic records and help and help and help. We have been asking for all of the things that we talk about. Clarity. We've been asking for clarity. We've been asking for justice, right? So this is not gossip with no action behind it. My husband's taking all the action behind it, and I'm reporting. This is a team find Richard Halliday. And so I'm reporting on what we are doing to try to find our son, to try to get answers to find our son. And part of Richard's file, whether James Hart likes it or Dallas Hart likes it, or Leilani Hart likes it, that notarized criminal complaint confession affidavit that is full of vile and vulgar information about their family. It's so vile and vulgar, you have to pray before it, pray during it, pray after. It's very hard to even read it. It's really, because it pollutes you from top to bottom. This is a vile and vulgar family. Okay? This is what is being reported here. A vile and vulgar family. And that affidavit is part of our son's case. And the good news is that a soldier, now Dallas Hart was in uniform on Fort Bliss, and he could have put in a congressional request, a congressional inquiry request as an active duty officer on Fort Bliss. He didn't do that. He did not do that. And he had the opportunity. Okay? James Hart works for the medical board in the VA there on Fort Bliss to determine which service members, how much the service members get in disability benefit. Very powerful position. He could also request a congressional. Dallas Hart can request a congressional right now, right? And that would expose the truth. So this is their opportunity to support this soldier, this Fort Bliss soldier, request for a congressional inquiry. They can contact Veronica Escobar to back up this congressional inquiry. And all the grievances that they have, maybe with me saying that they have a vile and vulgar family. Well, let me tell you, just the fact that the mother would put forth, if this is fake, that she would lodge such an attack on her own family through the CID and the FBI, to me is vile and vulgar, does so much harm to the family. But, I'm not at that point yet, even though I know that she is a convicted criminal and she's a liar and she's convicted of being a liar. She's convicted about being a liar to law enforcement. She was arrested. And you know what? She was arrested while serving in the Army. She was a soldier when that happened. Okay? Or working for the government, right? She's, y'all. Yeah. Richard never pled guilty to anything. Okay? And Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, with his SJA, told us that if he would have been court-martialed, he could have got 6 years in the clink in prison for what he did. And we're like, what did he do? He never pled guilty to anything. And they were saying that he could get 6 years in Leavenworth. And we were like looking at them like they lost their minds. Because they were running around, in Drum Row, we had chickens. And this is how the SJA reminded me of a chicken that lost its mind. Saying to us, our son is missing. And all they can concentrate on is demeaning him and threatening us and saying, to me, it was like them trying to say, if we find him, he's going to go to prison. So just let him be hidden, right? Let's just walk away. No. Find my son. Then you can judge him. I told them that and they were horrified. They were horrified because I know my son is innocent till proven guilty in this country, supposedly. And, I'm not going to just walk away because I'm afraid that my son might be convicted and having to go to prison. They might pull that kind of psyop on a lot of people because they tried it with us, but I'm not falling for it. And now we know that he never pled guilty to anything. He was... and he was they just went after him with everything they had in that they could weaponize. And it wasn't enough, and it led to his forced disappearance. And in my opinion, because of where the evidence indicates is the premeditated murder of our son. That's what it looks like, in my opinion. That's where the evidence has led, indicates. I'm learning all of this language so that I can, I'm getting live stream training, um, so people will understand. The evidence indicates the forced disappearance and premeditation, the premeditated murder of our son. And the cover up. And so this leads to the good news. The good news of Veronica Escobar's office getting back to us so quickly. So concerned, very concerned that they get this right. Because they have liability. So they're very concerned that everything is done properly so that they could get justice, right? I was writing down the liability for the institutions because we have not just been gossiping, but actually doing all the paperwork behind the scenes, which is enormous. Enormous. You know, it would be so difficult for other families to do this that have jobs and little children. And I just can't even imagine all of uh, the responsibilities other people have. But because of our ages, because of our situation, we can dedicate time to finding our son. And we would be negligent if we didn't. And we would be negligent to all the other victims out there, all the other service members that have been praying for someone to be able to take on this corrupt system. The corruption in the JAG, the corruption in the IG, the corruption in the CID, the corruption in the command, the corruption at Park University, the corruption at the VA, the corruption, on Fort Bliss. And we won't let them down. We're trying anyway. We're trying not to let them down. And our number one purpose is to find out where our son is, what happened to our son. And it's turned into a multi-purpose because we don't want this to happen to other families. And we're concerned about the service members right now in the military. We're concerned for them. We're concerned for our country. And so we're asking tonight, we have very good news. We have a petition to support, and we'll add more and more names of other service members that have the courage to submit a request for a congressional inquiry. To the petition, we'll just add more and more petitions to support them, to know that we have their back, we have each other's back. We need to work together as an army of one, as a military of one, as concerned citizens, as concerned for our service members that have no recourse, that are being raped, that are being targeted to sell illegal weapons, illegal Sorry, that was a slip. Illegal drugs too, to groom them to get into crime, into selling the weapons and the smuggling the weapons and the ammunition and the equipment. Um, we have who was saying it the other day to tell our service members that they should get on food stamps, right? Get on food stamps. And then they get in and someone says, hey, don't do that. There's more money into smuggling the weapons and stuff. And then you have a criminal syndicate inside the military. Then that's how it gets started. So we have the alcohol abuse then, because then, you can't fight guilt. The guilt is always just there. And no matter how much Freud tries to get rid of guilt, however the sex cults try to get rid of guilt, you can never get rid of guilt. That's why they, in addition to the sex cults, there's drugs and alcohol involved and suicides involved and sacrifices involved and all of that, because you can never get rid of the guilt. So we want to back up our soldiers because they have become pawns. They have become targeted. And absolutely 100%, there is something very wrong going on Fort Bliss. Very wrong in the JAG. Very wrong. Very wrong in the CID. Very wrong in the IG. Very wrong at the VA. Very wrong in the command. Very wrong at Park University. Very wrong in the Child Protective Services connection with Fort Bliss. Very wrong with the CYS connection with CPS and, the health of children, the mental health of children. Because look, we have evidence at the emergency intake center that used to be there. Maybe, I don't know what's going on there right now. 85,000 plus unaccounted for minors. Something was very wrong going on in the child care on Fort Bliss and in the surrounding El Paso because of what was happening. Something very wrong is going on at the border that's impacting Fort Bliss. So something very wrong is going on, and we're so glad to have this good news to say finally, a very brave soldier has put in a request for a congressional. And we need to back this soldier up. And so we have a petition. Surround him. Surround him like angels. Surround him like a hedge. Surround him like tanks. However you want to call it. This soldier cannot be targeted for retaliation. He is in his rights to do this. And Veronica Escobar understands that because she wrote us. She wrote us. We were copied on his request for the congressional. That's why we were tipped off. Thank you very much, because he was writing about our son, but we don't know him. And yes, it is a him, but we don't know him. But we are so grateful that he is so courageous, and we need to absolutely have his six. Absolutely leave no soldier behind. Absolutely have esprit de corps, a Spartacus moment. And this is good news. And for everybody, including Corinne Adeline West, including Dallas Hart, including Deborah Sarah West, including Ruggiero, including Jay Paulin, including James Hart and Lalani Hart and Tavita Nusa and Marlon Soto and um, who else is, really uh, upset and feels that there are lies being told out there. Well, let's do this. Let's put this out there. And I even got some feedback of people not liking what this soldier was requesting. Well, let's do the request. Let's do the inquiry. And we can see about the young party girls being given these passes. And maybe there were some party boys. Let's find out if there were party boys included in the party girls that were given these passes during the COVID lockdown. Okay, let's see. Let's see if these suicides were properly investigated, because we know that our son's case hasn't been properly investigated. We know we haven't been told of the investigation. They have not been transparent with us. We know that. So let's see about these cases that are questionable when it comes to these suicides, these many, many suicides on Fort Bliss. It's outrageous. My husband, in his 30 years, never heard of anything like this. So we know, because of the number of suicides, that something very wrong is happening. And, to talk to Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, who looked at me, was like, soldiers are dying when it came to this COVID mandate stuff. And I'm like, I want to tell him right now, sir, with all due respect, soldiers are dying. So, why is there any question why we shouldn't have this congressional? There isn't. It's good news for everybody. It's something everybody can get behind. Everybody. Who doesn't want the truth? Only those that are guilty. And let me tell you, it has been a nightmare to have to go through the allegations and the Hart family's mess. It's been a nightmare. And there's nobody that wants that cleaned up more than I do. I want that to be so wrong. But we have the records of her being arrested. We have the testimonies of the damage to lives that that her will to control and to smear, and it's like a psychotic how can you describe it? It's so vile and vulgar. Her will to destroy people's lives. Her will to destroy people's lives. That is what we've heard over and over and over again. I mean, if you get her angry, nothing stops her from her trying to destroy you. That is what we're hearing. And so if Richard made complaints in Park University about professors up to no good with students, if he made CID complaints, if he made Child Protective Service complaints, and he was relentless, and the IG were all over the barracks because of Halliday, did it include her? Well, it seems to, because her allegations, her notarized affidavit, criminal affidavit, a confession affidavit was part of his case, is part of Richard's case. So let me ask you this. If all the witnesses that we're hearing from our intel say that she has one mean temper, that she is relentless in the pursuit of destroying the person she's angry at. Is that what happened to Richard? And if she had connections within the VA, which she did, and she had connections within CID, which she did, and she had connections in the command, which she did, and she had connections within JAG, which she did, and she had connections within the security of Fort Bliss, the DES, with him, and she did. And if she had connections within Park University, which she did, and she had connections within the IG, which she did, and she had connections with CPS and CYS, which she did, and she had connections within the veterans community, which she did, and she had connections with the media, which she did, and she had connections with the LDS community, very powerful community in that area, very, very powerful. That's Romney land. I call it Romney land. Okay, which she did. And that means she had passes to go over to the temples, over to Juarez, because that's where the temples are. And so that means she had connections with the border, which she did, the Customs Border Protectors, which she did. Then, Richard, who was coming from Ireland and Germany, not knowing anybody, well, there was a couple people there, a couple older people there, knowing a couple people, but not having any kind of connections with anybody. He didn't have a chance against her. He was absolutely bullied from top to bottom, bullied for not wanting to play her games, for not wanting to participate in her crimes, for not wanting to participate in the Vanity Fair. And she is a criminal. She's a convicted criminal. And she's like a tornado. She's like that Wicked Witch and Wizard of Oz, the green one riding on the bike. She's up to no good. And there's good news. She could say, wait a minute, you're wrong. Let's do this congressional. I'm going to clear my name. I'm going to tell you what's really behind this. Is she a puppet? I don't think so, y'all. I mean 99%. She's not a puppet. She absolutely knows what she's doing. From what I heard, the false allegations, even her family getting so I want to say frightened of her that they had to put in their own complaints of domestic disturbances and domestic abuse. Domestic abuse. we are getting confirmation that she abused her children. That's not me just in a gossip column, okay? That is intel coming in. And guess what? Veronica Escobar's office knows it because we've shared this information. We've shared this information. With the institutions, with all the institutions, with the command. We've been pleading and sharing all of the information that we have. Congress knows about Richard Halliday. The command knows about Richard Halliday. The El Paso police, the governor's office, the VA, the IG, the JAG, Park University. They all know about Richard Halliday. Kacherga, El Paso Matters. They know. How could Miss Kacherga miss this? She is a award-winning journalist. How could she miss this background check on Leilani Hart? And how does Leilani Hart get so much protection and Richard is totally destroyed? Answer me that. Is it sex? Is it the sex cult? Is it the shrine? Is it all the conflicts of interest? Is it the LLCs? Is it the trafficking? Is it the child pornography? Is it the child abuse? Is it stealing identities and getting certain bank favors for, I don't know, certain identities and fraud, all the fraud, the financial fraud? Is it the blackmail? What is it? What is giving her connections with attorneys to move El Paso Matters to her favor? To be against the search and the justice for a missing soldier, a maligned soldier, a retaliated against soldier, a presumed murdered soldier. What does she have that can move El Paso Matters, KTEP, to that kind of position? To, you know what that means? That they are willing to risk their tax-free status for Leilani Hart to obstruct justice. That's what that means. And, I don't understand how she can be at any kind of law enforcement or be any kind of government employee with her history. And how did Kacherga miss that? Right? How did that happen? How did JAG miss it? How did our trillion-dollar military JAG miss it? That they would obstruct justice. Now their liability just went way up, and now they know we're getting institutional support. Now it's coming. The time is right. And we're getting, and it took us a long time, 3 years. We're finally getting institutional support. And you have institutional support, and then you back that up with evidence, which we have. We're not just a gossip column, and evidence upon evidence upon evidence, which is indicative of the premeditated, presumed murder of Richard. That's where the evidence is indicating. And that means that now we have accountability. So we have institutional support plus evidence equals accountability. That's our formula. And, I really liked that because, I'm a math major. I like formulas. I'll say it one more time. Institutional support. And you see that from within Fort Bliss, a brave soldier is requesting a congressional inquiry, and Veronica Escobar, in a day plus a few hours, give it 30 hours maybe, she responds from her office and is giving us this institutional support to get this right. And that means we've got it all. We've got the evidence. We've got the witnesses, because Leilani Hart has left behind her a wake of evidence. A wake of evidence. And then that equals accountability. And that accountability, for one, and Rob feels the same way. I know he feels the same way because we've talked about this, because at the beginning we were asking for immunity, even for the worst offense. We no longer feel that way. We hope that the death penalty is on the table. On the table. Because what has happened is so many lives disrupted and destroyed. My dad, I can't even tell you the horror. I even posted it up, him, the day before he passed away, wanting to find Richard, and devastated that our institution, our $1 trillion institution with agencies, were stonewalling and covering this up. So, yeah, this is a breaking news day again. Every day is a breaking news day. And today is the day of the petition. You can sign the petition, but don't stop there. Don't stop with just signing the petition. Share that petition. Talk to your friends about the petition. Talk to your friends what is at stake here. And get others to sign that petition to protect this brave soldier that is getting now institutional support in the Find Richard Halliday case. In the Richard Halliday case, getting that institutional support. He's the one that's getting it for us. And we were contacted today, and we're very grateful. And with that, we can share the evidence. The evidence is pouring out because they want evidence. They need evidence. And all the work that we've been doing for 3 years, collecting evidence, recording, saving, is now going to come in handy to give the institutional support the evidence so it will equal accountability. So we're very grateful for all the help that we get every day. Every day. We're so grateful because at the end of this, very quickly, I think it's going to happen so quick. I don't know when it's going to happen. But I think, the stars in their course fought against Sisera. It's all God's timing. And I think it's going to be very quick when it happens. Because we have all the information. I mean, my goodness, we have the white van, the white Pontiac Montana van, 2004. We know who it belongs to. If you have information behind that van, please share it with us, 941-677-0060. If you have information about Leilani Hart, if you have information about the abuse, if you have information about James Hart, if you have information about Delta Battery 143, if you have information about Richard, we still have a $150,000 reward out for information leading to finding Richard. And we're good for it. We're good for it. So, if you're affiliated with Park University and you have information, and if you have been maligned through the JAG or through your chain of command, then now is your time to also submit a congressional inquiry, a request for a congressional inquiry. And if you're in El Paso, you can do that very easily to Veronica Escobar's office. Very easily. And then CC Ted Cruz, because they have oversight. They have oversight. I'll answer questions now. Good evening, Mrs. Halliday. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Danielle. Thank you so much, Anicia. Find Richard Halliday family and team has been having to investigate into Richard Halliday's disappearance and have uncovered a lot. Exactly. And, I will tell you absolutely 100%. We have evidence after evidence after evidence that prove that we were asked to bring leads. We were asked to bring leads. And we were told that they could not do anything unless we brought leads. And just recently, CID Quantico said, this is just, a non-active, an inactive case. What are you talking about? Here is, we just provided CID Quantico with lead after lead after lead after lead after we received that letter. But the boss said, no, this is an ongoing investigation. So someone's not talking to each other, okay? Someone's not talking. Either way, they need to get to the bottom of that complaint. Absolutely. And everybody can get behind this inquiry because it's asking for the truth legally asking for the truth. That means there's legal consequences. And so we're an open book. We have everything on Find Richard Halliday for years and years, unless they've taken it away, because I've had people tell me that they take things down, and from all what we have done. But we have, we have so much. We have so much. Something's going on here. Okay, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Mm. Okay, I don't know. Can you hear me? Let me see. Can you hear me? Okay. Jeez. That was, it was like my whole screen just went absolutely crazy. You can see it, that it just went really crazy. Even my view, I'm going to have to leave it kind of strange. Anyway, I'll fix it tomorrow. Um, and this is such good news. Why would anyone want to? Why would anything be deliberately? I don't know. I don't know. And I'm so sorry for that. But this is good news. And I hope that you get behind this petition, that you get behind this congressional inquiry, and write Veronica Escobar. Write Veronica Escobar. Give her your support to move forward with this congressional inquiry. Write Ted Cruz. And don't stop there. Ask other people to do the same. Right? We can have the multiplier effect. One person times two people times four people times, 8 people. It would be a great Spartacus moment, esprit de corps for my dad. Esprit de corps. He was all about esprit de corps. So that would be great to get behind this soldier, which means you're getting behind every service member on Fort Bliss, which means that you're getting behind the El Paso community. And you're when you make things visible, then that gives security to the people that take the risks. And so it would just be so great. And if the El Paso community benefits from this, of course, Juarez is benefited also. And, we're in this together in the world, right? We're in this together. We're tired of the criminal syndicates ruining our lives and taking our children's lives. I'm sick of it. Um, And those in the military that participated with this, um, you know, sometimes you don't even realize you're participating. And some people do, and they're not strong enough to say no. So we need to give them a reason to say no. We need to give people a reason to do the right thing. We need to reform our culture, reform our choices of what we can do in our day-to-day life. And getting justice is super important. And we need to know what happened to Richard, of course, but we need to let every service member know that they're valuable and that they should be able to go to their chain of command. They should be able to go to the JAG, and they should be able to express their grievances, and that it should be responded to in a very professional, very legal, very constitutional way, right? And so thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for putting up with that streaming problem. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. So thank you. And that Veronica does what's right, like she said she would do before. Yeah, either way, they need to get to the bottom of that complaint. Oh, yeah. And it doesn't matter whether you like Veronica or not. It doesn't matter. She is there. She needs to do her duty. She has responded. That's good news. She has responded. So she has in her hand that request for